Stop right there. Before you scroll, before you move on with your day, I want you to ask yourself one question. When was the last time your kindness actually protected you? You gave, you forgave, you stayed patient. And what did the world give you in return? Silence, betrayal, disrespect. We've been told since childhood that being kind makes us strong. That compassion will earn us love. That patience will bring us peace. But no one tells you what happens when your kindness meets someone's manipulation. When your empathy becomes their weapon. When your forgiveness becomes their permission to hurt you again. This is the unspoken truth, the one people are too afraid to admit. Kindness, when blind, is weakness. Not because kindness itself is bad, but because the world isn't built to reward purity, it's built to exploit it. History proves it. The kindest leaders were overthrown. The most generous were robbed. The most honest were silenced. Because goodness without boundaries is an open wound that attracts wolves. Niccolò Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He watched good men fall not because they lacked power, but because they lacked strategy. He wrote, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be both a lion and a fox." You've been taught to be the lamb, to stay soft, to stay forgiving. But what if the people around you are not sheep at all? They're wolves in wool. And while you keep hoping your kindness will melt their hearts, they're sharpening their teeth behind a smile. Here's the paradox. Kindness is only powerful when it's controlled, when it's directed, not drained, when it's a choice, not a default reaction. But that's not what we've been programmed to do. You've been taught that saying no is rude, that setting boundaries is selfish, that walking away means you don't care. And so you stay, you overgive, you explain yourself to people who never listen. And deep down, every time you suppress your anger in the name of kindness, a part of you dies quietly. Let's face it, the world doesn't reward the kind. It rewards the strong. And in this world, strength doesn't mean being heartless. It means being strategic with your heart. So, today, we're going to break the illusion. We'll look into why kindness, when misunderstood, destroys your confidence. We'll uncover how manipulators see kindness not as virtue but as opportunity. And most importantly, you'll learn how to turn your kindness into a weapon of power, not a mark of weakness. Drop this in the comments right now. I control my kindness, because from this moment on, you won't let your empathy be your downfall. You'll use it as leverage. Now let's go deeper. If kindness was truly protection, why are the kindest people always the ones left bleeding? You see, manipulators don't look for power, they look for access. And there's no easier doorway than the open heart of a good person. They don't choose kind people by accident. They choose them because kindness is predictable. You won't fight back. You'll give second chances. You'll explain their behavior instead of recognizing it for what it is: disrespect. That's the dark psychology of manipulation. It doesn't break you with force. It breaks you with your own compassion. Let me paint you a picture. There's a woman who always listens, always forgives, always puts others first. Her friends call her the strong one because she carries everyone's pain without ever asking for help. But late at night, when everyone's gone, she cries quietly, not because people hurt her, but because she keeps letting them. And when she finally tries to set a boundary, they say, "You've changed. You're cold now. You're not the same kind person you used to be." That's how emotional control works, by guilt. Manipulators make you believe that protecting yourself is cruelty. They convince you that saying no is betrayal. And they know you'll bend because you care too much. Psychologically, this is called empathic conditioning. It's when your brain links your worth to being good, when your identity depends on being seen as kind, helpful, or selfless, even at the cost of your peace. And here's the painful part: they don't even have to manipulate you directly anymore. You'll do it to yourself. You'll silence your anger before it leaves your lips. You'll excuse their behavior before they even apologize. You'll keep the peace while they enjoy the power. Niccolo Machiavelli wrote that men are ungrateful, fickle, false, cowardly, covetous. He didn't say this to spread cynicism. He said it so you would stop expecting morality from everyone. Because once you expect fairness from the unfair, you're already defeated. The kind person walks into the lion's den and says, "If I show them love, they won't hurt me." But lions don't understand kindness. They understand strength. And until you show strength, they'll keep testing you. This is the paradox of empathy. The more you try to heal others, the more you invite people who love being broken. They feed off your compassion. They study your patience. And every time you forgive them, they learn just how far they can go. The world doesn't change because of your kindness. It changes because of your boundaries. So the question is not, how can I stay kind? It's, how can I stay kind without losing myself? Kindness without self-respect isn't virtue, it's self-erasure. It's like watering a garden that belongs to someone else while your own flowers die. Let me tell you something powerful. The people who truly deserve your kindness will never demand it. They'll never make you feel guilty for protecting your peace. It's only the manipulators who twist your goodness into a weapon against you. You don't have to stop being kind. You just have to stop being naive. There's a line between empathy and self-destruction. And every time you cross it, you teach others how to use you. You want to know why people don't respect your kindness? Because respect isn't built from giving, it's built from limiting. When you can say no calmly, when you can walk away without guilt, when your silence carries more weight than your explanations, that's when kindness becomes power. So the next time someone says, "You're too nice," take it as a warning, not a compliment. Kindness without strength isn't a halo, it's a target. Drop this in the comments. My kindness has boundaries. Because from today, you stop being their source of comfort and start being the mirror that reflects their truth. Let's talk about the price no one warns you about. The quiet death that happens inside every overly kind person. Not all wounds bleed. Some of them smile, say, "It's fine," and carry everyone else's burden until they disappear behind their own silence. That's the hidden cost of goodness. Not the pain others cause you, but the pain you refuse to admit you feel. See, the world praises your kindness while it drains you. They say you're so selfless, as if that's a compliment. But selfless literally means without self. Think about that. You spend years being the reliable one, the one who never complains, the one who always shows up. And then one day you wake up and realize you've become invisible in your own life. You've mastered the art of disappearing in plain sight. It starts small. You say yes when you mean no. You smile when you're exhausted. You help when no one helps you. You tell yourself, it's just who I am. But slowly, that kindness turns into a cage. Every favor you do becomes another bar. Every boundary you break becomes another lock. And before you know it, you're trapped inside an image of your own making. They call you the good one, but you know what that really means? It means they know you won't fight back. It means they can take from you without fear. It means your silence has become their permission. Let me tell you a truth that might sting. People rarely destroy you. You destroy yourself by giving them the tools and calling it love. You hand them your time, your trust, your energy. And they use it, not because they're evil, but because you never taught them to stop. Goodness without limits doesn't inspire gratitude. It breeds entitlement. And when you finally run out of strength, they don't offer help. They offer guilt. Why are you acting different? You used to be so nice. You've changed. No, you didn't change. You finally healed. You finally realized that saving everyone else is not your job. That constantly bleeding for people who never bring you bandages is not love. Psychologists call it compassion fatigue. When your empathy turns into exhaustion, your care into resentment, and your heart, once open, becomes numb. Because here's the brutal truth. When you keep giving without receiving, your nervous system goes into survival mode. You start associating kindness with pain. You flinch at your own generosity. You stop trusting your instincts because they always lead you to people who take. And then you start believing the lie that the world doesn't deserve your softness. But here's what you need to understand. Your softness was never the problem. Your lack of boundaries was. Goodness without self-respect is just self-sacrifice in disguise. And self-sacrifice without purpose is not virtue, it's decay. Every time you give beyond your capacity, you teach your subconscious that your needs don't matter. And the longer you live like that, the quieter your voice becomes. Until one day, you can't even remember what you wanted. You say, I'm just tired. But it's deeper than tired. It's the exhaustion of carrying everyone's expectations while burying your own desires. It's the fatigue of pretending that being used is the same as being loved. Niccolo Machiavelli once said, "Men sooner forget the death of their father than the loss of their inheritance." He wasn't being cruel, he was being honest. People remember what you give them, not what it costs you. And that's why blind generosity is a losing game. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're carrying buckets of water to everyone in your village. Every day you give, and every day they drink. But one day, your well runs dry. You go back to refill, but there's nothing left. The people you helped, they don't offer water back. They just ask, "Why did you stop?" That's what overgiving does. It drains your well, and when you finally stop pouring, they call you selfish for being empty. But here's the twist: the well can refill, if you protect it. If you start saying no, not as rejection, but as preservation. If you start choosing your peace over your guilt. If you start understanding that boundaries are not walls, they are gates. They decide who gets access to your kindness. So from now on, I want you to remember this. You're not running out of love, you're running out of permission to waste it. Love is infinite. Energy is not. And if you don't learn to protect your energy, you'll confuse burnout with compassion, exhaustion with purpose, and silence with peace. Machiavelli taught rulers how to maintain power in a cruel world. You must learn how to maintain self-power in an emotional one, because if you can't control your kindness, someone else will. So here's your next affirmation. My energy is sacred. Say it until it feels true, because the moment you start protecting your energy, you'll realize something incredible. The people who truly love you will respect your boundaries, and the ones who used you will disappear. That's not loss. That's liberation. So far, you've seen how kindness can destroy you. You've seen how generosity can become a trap. How being good without strategy turns you into prey in a world of predators. But now it's time for the part nobody talks about. How to turn your goodness into strength. Because make no mistake, real power doesn't come from cruelty. It comes from control. And control begins when you decide that your kindness is no longer free. Let me say that again. Your kindness is a gift, not an obligation. Your time, your energy, your love, they are currencies. And powerful people never spend their currency carelessly. You see, the problem isn't that you're too kind. It's that you've been unconscious about where your kindness goes. You've been operating like a leaking faucet, pouring endlessly into everyone around you, instead of choosing who deserves the water from your well. Strategic kindness changes that. It doesn't remove your softness, it directs it. Let's break it down. 1. Learn to observe, not react. Weak kindness reacts. Powerful kindness observes. When someone disrespects you, weak kindness rushes to forgive. It says, they didn't mean it. But strategic kindness pauses. It studies the pattern. It sees the motive behind the mistake. Because forgiveness without awareness isn't healing, it's denial. The moment you stop reacting, you become unpredictable. And when you're unpredictable, you gain power. People can't manipulate what they can't read. That's the first step to strategic kindness. Emotional awareness before emotional response. 2. Replace guilt with standards. If your kindness comes from guilt, it will always control you. If it comes from standards, it will always protect you. Stop saying, I'm sorry for having boundaries. Start saying, that doesn't work for me. You don't owe anyone an explanation for self-respect. You don't need to justify rest, peace, or distance. That's not cruelty, that's clarity. Because here's what Machiavelli understood better than anyone. Power doesn't require domination. It requires detachment. When your emotions rule you, people can rule you. When your standards rule you, you rule yourself. That's the difference between being kind and being a leader. 3. Use silence as a weapon. One of the greatest signs of strength is silence. Not the silence of fear, but the silence of control. When people try to provoke you, pause. When they try to guilt, you pause. When they demand your help without giving respect, pause. Silence terrifies manipulators, because silence means they no longer control the narrative. Let them wonder what you're thinking. Let them question what they lost. Because when you stop explaining yourself, your value speaks louder than words. Machiavelli once said, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." But in the modern world, the translation is this: it is better to be respected than liked. Respect lasts longer. Respect protects you. Respect creates space for real love to exist. 4. Turn compassion into strategy. Real compassion isn't about pleasing everyone. It's about helping the right people in the right way. Think of your energy like sunlight. It can warm or it can burn, depending on where you focus it. Strategic kindness doesn't just ask, "How can I help?" It asks, "Will this help empower or enable?" Because not everyone deserves your rescue. Some people need consequences more than comfort. True kindness empowers others to stand, not depend. And the moment you start giving that kind of kindness, you stop being a servant and become a mentor. You become someone whose presence changes people, not someone who constantly cleans up their mess. 5. Protect your peace like it's gold. Let's be brutally honest. Peace is expensive. Every no you say costs guilt. Every boundary costs approval. Every act of self-respect costs someone's comfort. But the alternative? A life where everyone is comfortable except you. That's why the greatest act of power is protecting your peace. Start scheduling time to be alone, not as isolation, but as recalibration. In silence, you remember who you are. You remember that your worth isn't defined by how useful you are to others, but by how true you are to yourself. When you protect your peace, your presence becomes magnetic. People start feeling it. They sense that you're not desperate for approval anymore. You're centered, grounded, unshakable. That's what makes kings and queens. That's what turns kindness into charisma. 6. The lion and the fox. Let's return to Machiavelli. He said, "A wise ruler must learn how not to be good and use this knowledge when necessary." That doesn't mean evil. It means balanced. You must be both the lion and the fox. The lion stands tall, powerful, courageous, respected. The fox moves smart, patient, observant, strategic. Too much lion, and you become feared but isolated. Too much fox, and you become clever but untrusted. But when you balance both, you become unstoppable. In modern terms, be kind like a fox, aware, intentional, precise. Be firm like a lion, bold, commanding, and unshakable. That's what I call strategic goodness. 7. The final truth. Here's the truth most people never realize until it's too late. Kindness isn't weakness, but unprotected kindness is self-destruction. When you stop giving out of guilt and start giving out of strength, everything changes. People treat you differently. Opportunities flow differently. Life starts reflecting the energy you finally demanded from it. Because the world doesn't reward good people. It rewards powerful people who stay good. So from this moment, let this be your declaration. I will no longer use kindness to prove my worth. I will use it to express my power. Say it, feel it, live it. Be the person who still chooses kindness, but with eyes wide open. Be the one who forgives, but never forgets the lesson. Be the one who gives, but only from overflow, never from emptiness. And when people try to guilt you for your boundaries, smile and remember this. You didn't change, you evolved. You became the kind of good that can't be manipulated. The kind that can't be controlled. The kind of human that inspires both love and respect. That's the power Machiavelli wrote about. That's the power hidden inside you all along. So, don't stop being good. Just stop being easy. Because the world doesn't need another saint. It needs a wise warrior with a kind heart. Drop this final affirmation in the comments. My kindness is my strength. My boundaries are my power.